Hello there guys, and welcome back to our car modeling tutorial, and today we are going to be working on the mesh on the front and the back. On this model here I've just imported some wheels from another model just to see how it was all sitting here just now, and it's looking pretty good. In this episode we're going to work on the mesh. After that we will work on the wing mirrors, which is the bit that I absolutely hate modeling when it comes to car modeling. And then once we've done that, we'll work on building the actual Lamborghini Huracan alloy wheels. So in the last episode we worked on our rear lights here, which are looking pretty good. Now what I actually did was I did decide to smooth them out, because they do look a lot better now that they're smoothed. If I remove the wireframe here, so we can see how that looks really nice going along there. I added some colours inside as well. So all I really did inside here was I added all the additional edge loops, just like we did when we smoothed the vehicle where it was required along the harsher edges, and then just simply smoothed it out before seeing what we have here today and duplicate it across the other side of the car there. So that's good. In this episode then we're going to crack on with the grille. Now this is going to be a little bit of a pain. I do actually see it being a little bit easier than the wing mirrors here, but it's going to be a little bit annoying just to make sure that we can get the exact shape that we're wanting. So what we'll need to do, according to our reference images, is we're going to need to have a actual section that's running around all of here, and then we can drop the mesh inside. Now hopefully we'll be able to do all this in one episode. Hopefully it won't drag on too long, but we can get the mesh on the back here as well. So what we'll actually do first is I think we'll do the mesh first, because that means then you guys will be able to make the mesh, and if you don't need to watch me go around the edge here and put in all that information there, you don't have to. You can do that without having to follow along with the video. So we'll make the mesh first and then we'll move on after that. So in order to make honeycomb mesh, there's a few different ways to do it. The mesh that we're making here though is a little bit different, because we can see on the blueprints here that it's kind of got a few different angles to it. Now I've been having to think about how I'm going to do this, because what we're going to want to do is make a small section of it, and then we're going to want to duplicate it, merge it, and then extrude it. But the problem here is that these sections aren't uniform, and they're not uniform in such a way that it actually looks really awkward to get it all laid out. And I think the perfect way to do it would be to make a huge section of mesh and then edit all the required parts. But in the interest of time, we're going to make a small section and we're going to make it look as close to this as possible. Now, what we're going to do with this plane here is firstly we're going to scale it up, and let's hide the grid there so we can just see our plane here. We'll maybe move it away slightly. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to boost up the subdivision to see what we're working with here just now. 10, that's not too bad. We're not going to need a lot of these, so we'll keep it at 10, that'll be fine. So what we're going to want to do here in order to make our mesh is we are going to want to select all of these sections here. So we're going to want to select all of these lines running horizontally here. So we want to be one away from the edge, because we're going to use that to shape. We want to skip 2, and then we want to go again. We want to skip 2, and then we want to go again. And I think actually what we'll do is we'll just boost it up just in case. We'll increase the subdivisions here. Maybe go up to 13 just to be on the safe side, because I don't want to get halfway through it and then it turns out that we didn't have enough information inside there. So we'll go 13 by 13 here just to make sure it's square for now. And again, we are going to select the edges here, skip 2 rows, select all the edges, skip 2, select again, skip 2, and select. So that looks fine there, doesn't matter if we've got too many over on that side. So now with all these sections selected here, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Edit Mesh and we are going to hit Bevel. So we can see now that we've kind of got a little bit of a shape going here. And on the fraction section here, what we want to do is we want to boost this up to 1. So we can see now that we've got the full honeycomb shape that we want here. So we can see that in between all of these edges that we don't really need right now, we've got the general shape that we want. Now what we want to do is get rid of the actual ones we don't need. So we don't need any of the faces down this edge here, because what we're going to do is we're going to stitch this edge to another edge when we start tiling. So we can take all of these away around the top and the bottom. So we're going to want to keep a little portion of this just for now. So we're going to want to have a uniform edge here. So we'll have a uniform edge here. We'll have an edited edge, and uniform edge. So that means that from here downwards we are not going to need. Now we want to make sure we have a uniform edge on either side so that this edge here can merge to this one, and we can have all of the fancy dodgy sections inside here. So that means we can delete the rest. Okay, so what we want to do now is tidy this up a little bit. Firstly, we don't want this line going straight down the middle, so we're going to highlight that whole line and we'll delete the edge and the vertices there. And then what we want to do is delete all of the lines going down here. But this time we don't want to delete the edge and the vertices. All we're going to do is hit delete, because we want the vertices to maintain their position there. We'll do that again on these sections here. It's probably be quicker. Jump on the top here. Select all of this. So we want to just get rid of our edges here. Okay, then we can hit delete. So now we're left with the honeycomb section here. So I'm not sure how many of these we're going to need just yet, but we want our bottom to match our top at least. So if we do need this, we need it to look like this, so that this one can sit nicely inside here. And what we're going to want to do with this now is we're going to want to make a little bit of an edit to these sections. So again, if I jump in my top view, and I'm just going to isolate the selection here so I can't see anything I don't need to. And let's get rid of X-ray there just so we can see this nicely. So what we're going to want to do here is we want to make sure that this edge stays straight, this edge stays straight. Now the reason we want to do that is because we're going to tile this. Like I said before, if we made one huge sheet and then went through it honeycomb by honeycomb, it would be so much better. We'd get so much more in it. We'd get it looking exactly how we want it to do, but we've got a tile here, so we're going to have to compromise a little bit. So we want a straight edge up here. So that means these ones here, what we could do is we could shorten them. But what we'll actually do is maybe at this point here, we could actually use the blueprint just to make sure that we're on the right page. So go back to our front view here. So we can try and get this as close as possible, even though we are going to compromise a little bit here. So I'm going to modify and I'm going to send to my pivot. Let's take this down. Okay, so it looks like that's not actually too bad, that size there. In terms of width, take down the height here. Okay, looks pretty good. So like I said, we're going to try and get it as close as possible, but we're not going to get it exact using this method. So with that in mind, that looks pretty good. So what we're going to need then is a straight edge on the top. So that means this these two vertices here, what we're going to do is we're going to grab our scale tool and we're going to pull them closer together, just to look something like that. Then we're going to leave a straight edge here, and we're going to go to the next section, and then we're going to expand. And then we're going to need this straight edge here. So this straight edge is going to be essentially attaching to this once we duplicate. Now what we have here is we want these ones to maintain their integrity, and we want these ones to maintain the integrity. So we're going to go in every odd one. So we made those ones smaller, so what we'll do with this one is we'll make this one bigger. And then we'll jump down here. Again, we want to make sure that we have straight lines on these bottom sections there. That should work nicely. and we'll increase the size of this one here. So we've just kind of got like a dodgy little shape going just there, but we're going to maintain these as they are because we are going to use them to tile. So that means now we'll keep our straight edge here, so we'll delete this face, and this face. So that means we can get rid of these now. So this is going to be our actual tile section. This is going to be the actual honeycomb and how it will sit on our actual vehicle here. So let's just pull it out. So that's going to be roughly what we're working with just there. So that looks good. So what we're going to want to do here now is we're going to want to create the whole shape. We're not going to want to start extruding because that's just going to make it incredibly difficult for us. What we're going to do is we are going to make a large square block which is going to go all the way to the center here and further should it need to. And it's going to start here and go along as a square, and it's going to go along here. So that means that we can make this one section, we can duplicate it, we can take it to the rear of the car and delete all the unnecessary sections, and we'll pop that in there, and then we'll duplicate again and we'll make sure that we've got all the required sections here at the front of the vehicle. So let's just quickly have a look. So we can see that at the back there looks fine. So if we go to the front, we can see that it does run around practically the whole of the section. So we can see it's on the lower section, this higher section, maybe there as well. Can't really see, so it looks like it runs at least along the lower section there, so that's fine. So what we'll do is we'll do the first one together, and then I'll probably speed the video up a little bit. So I'm just going to pull this one here. So this is where we're going to tile from. So what we'll do for this section here is we're going to hit Ctrl D to duplicate, and then we'll pull it into position. Now it could go either side anywhere just now. And let's center our pivot here so you can see our section. And we're just going to pull it so it's roughly on top. And then we'll select them both. We're going to hit Mesh and Combine. Now let's just undo that just so I can see where our actual join is. So our join is here. So we'll hit Mesh, Combine, and what we're going to need to do is join all of our vertices here by using the Merge tool. So just make sure that we're selecting the right section here. Okay, so now we have one section of our honeycomb mesh put together. And what we'll do is, again, we're going to duplicate, and this time we're going to move over. Now this time when we move over, we're not going to obviously have it aligned up too well here, so we're going to pull it in and we're going to pull it up. So we're going to have to align it slightly like this, which isn't too bad. Now we'll put them in position, and again, if it's not quite perfect, it will help you identify the edge. So we can select both, hit Mesh, Combine, and then we can go down here and we can edit Mesh, merge all of these points down here. So it's going to be a little bit tedious as we go through, but once we've got one of these laid out, we can then get that duplicated nicely, and we can then start putting each of the bits in a little bit quicker. Okay guys, so hopefully you're still here with us, you're still awake and ready to crack on with the next phase here of our honeycomb mesh. So what we're going to need to do is we are going to need to, what we'll do first actually is we'll duplicate this and move it out of the way, just in case we messed that up there. So we've got another mesh in place should we need it. So we're going to select this here and we're going to use our faces option, and we're going to select every single face on the board here, every single one. And then we are going to hit Control E. So we're going to extrude these. Now we'll see instantly when we do that we've got a lot of Z fighting here. So it's going to try and hold these faces together, which we don't actually want. We want to make these faces move separately from each other. So on our dialog box here we have our Keep Faces Together option. What we want to do is we want to turn that off. And if you have an older version of Maya, you can find this in the channel box editor. You'll be able to turn the faces to 0 or turn them off. That means we'll be able to edit each individual face of this mesh here. So what we're going to want to do inside is we are going to want to scale this all uniformly down, just a touch. And before we do anything else, we want to do it on its vertical axis here. Because of the width on these, it's going to take in the side a lot more than it'll take in on the top and the bottom points. And what we're going to do here is we are going to ever so slightly extrude in. And we're going to do that just so that we've got a little bit of a point on the edge here. We are then going to hit Control E again, and this time what we want to do is, it doesn't matter if the faces are together or on anymore. What we're going to do this time is we are going to take it down just a little bit, and maybe a little less than that. There, that'll be fine. And we're going to take it in a little bit more just to give us a little bit of a rounded section there now. And then we're going to Control E one more time and take it all the way in, just so we've got a little bit of information on that side. Now I've seen on the reference images, again if we look at our blueprints on the side view here, we can see that there's quite a little bit of depth to this section here. So we'll pull that in quite a little bit, and we'll do that now, because if we don't do it now it's going to be quite awkward to do it at a later date. So maybe we'll take that in just there. So it looks pretty good, looks like we've got some decent depth. And lastly what we're going to do here is we are going to hit delete. So we're going to delete all of those inside faces, so now that we can see that we've got a really nice looking mesh going along there. If I remove the wireframes here, we can see that we've got a really nice honeycomb mesh kicking it there, which is really good. So what we're going to do is we are going to Control D and duplicate this, and we're going to take this to the back of the car. What we want to do is on the Z axis is we want to change this to -1, so we can flip it. We'll take this all the way over here, so we can see now that we've got the main faces of the honeycomb on the opposite side. So that's going to be our rear section here. So what we'll actually do together is we're going to do the rear section together, and then maybe I'll speed up doing the front. So we'll drag this roughly into position just here. So we can see that we've got an awful lot of information here now that we don't need. So we're going to jump into our rear view. And for all the faces here that we don't actually want, or before we actually delete anything, what we'll do is let's get this aligned up nicely with the correct points. So we've got a little bit of curvature in there, which isn't too bad just now, we can ignore that. So we'll align it up here with some of these center ones, just there. Then we can see the rest is kind of deforming a little bit under the curve, so that's fine. What we'll do now is we're going to select the faces of these, and we're going to delete all of the ones that we don't actually need. So we're going to delete all the faces here that are just underneath the actual lip of that section there. We're going to delete all the faces that are just above. We're going to leave a little bit of wiggle room for now. We don't want to take it all the way down. Don't want to delete too many and then be left with our pants down. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So that looks pretty good there, just there. Now what we want to do is we want to actually create the lining for this section. So if we open up our rear views, so we can see here that we actually have a lining that runs all the way along this top section there. So this is the first thing we're going to do. And the way that we're going to do this is, so I think we could do it off of a plane. probably be the easiest port for us, the easiest way. Bring this up here into position. And let's just take away all of the width and the height there, take that down to 1. So it's nice and simple piece of geometry for us, and let's rotate this around. And we're going to do this very similar to how we went around the real lights in the previous episode. We're just going to bring this into place. We're going to have it run all the way along, and then we'll just extrude in on the parts that we require. So if we open up our back view here, and what we'll do with this is I'm just going to push that out of the way so it's not going to distract us too much. And what we're going to do with this is we are going to drag our vertices on the side here into the center so we can mirror this afterwards. Now, firstly, let's just bring this up and let's have a look to see. So we do have a little bit of a gap there. So it looks like there's a slight gap, so we will build it a little bit lower. But before we build it a little bit lower, what we're actually going to do is we are going to isolate the selection of these elements here along with our plane. Make sure they're all unsmoothed. So what we're going to do with this is we are going to bring it in first. We're going to bring it in a lot closer than it needs to be. And we are going to snap it to the vertices, the existing vertices that we have. So on this plane here, we're going to snap this here. We'll snap this one to the same place and we'll just bring it down slightly. And we'll do the same here. And the reason we're going to do it like this is because we're going to merge it to get the exact coverage that we have. And then we're going to pull the section away from the actual body. And then we can extrude in. So it's going to allow us to get the exact same curvature that we've already got in the main aspects of the model here. So we're going to extrude this out. We'll do this a few times here. Let's see. It's there. We'll go one more just for good luck just now. This is a little bit thicker than what we would actually be requiring. So again, we'll snap to, and we'll just pull down and we'll tidy up the section that we've pulled down in a minute. Okay, so how far around here did we go? So we actually go all the way to the corner and then we cut down. So we're in this to the end here. Okay guys, so what I did there is I just followed it around and then just merged these points to the upper points as well, just pulled them down a little bit. Now the reason I pulled them down just a little bit is because I want them to show the extrusion here. So this is going to be the top part, then we're going to extrude down and then we can go underneath. So using our side view here, we're going to be able to bring these out to roughly where they need to sit. Now we're not going to bring them down because we're actually going to move this whole shelf down a little bit. So we're going to try and maintain what we have just here. And we're going to be working just above the curve here. And we'll see how it goes in the side view here. And then we'll just make sure it's nice and uniform in our perspective view. Just make sure that we've got the curvature nailed down. These points here should be able to sit nicely just before the actual extrusion. Here we'll put just there. This point out here. And that point I imagine would need to come out as well. So, okay, so that looks pretty good. Now let's just make sure that the shape that we have here is good. Let's just isolate the selection of this. So that doesn't look too bad. Just want to make sure that we've got some curvature here. Okay, that looks pretty good. So what we'll do now is we'll grab all these edges. I think with this one. Don't want this one to be sitting how it is just now. Let's bring back. Let's bring back our selections here. What I think we'll want this one to do is I think we'll want this one to sit over here, like so. And then if we insert an edge loop just here, this one can come out there. There we go, looks better. And then just make sure that's got a nice curve to it. Okay. Don't want that. We want that to be there, but we don't want it to be actually touching just yet. Okay, cool. So what we'll do now is we'll grab this and we'll just put it down ever so slightly, just so we've got the gap just there. We'll also grab all this edge here, not including all these front faces here. Oops. So we'll grab all of these faces and we'll just pull them in so they're going underneath that section there. So we've got the gap, but we're not going to end up any light traveling through or overlapping in those sections. So on these front faces here, we are going to grab all of them. We're going to hit Ctrl E, and on the world option, you can see it up here, we are going to pull down, and we're going to pull down the whole way. Let's have a look at the back. Okay, so we're going to pull down the whole way that we think that should, which is there. That looks good. this bit we're not too worried about because well, it looks like it's going to go down underneath there, so it's fine. Just going to make sure that's looking okay in our perspective view here. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll now extrude this line in. So I think again we're going to need to see our back view. So we're going to hit Control E again here, and again, if we can actually see our elements, hit our world view, and we'll come down again. And this time we're going to want to go in as well. So we'll make sure we're in as far as we need to be. There. And there, so looks pretty good. And in our rear view here, we'll just double check everything else is sitting how it should. So it looks like here we need to come further in, like so. And then all these points here can be pulled up a little bit higher. Okay, and one last finishing touch to the base here. We're going to insert an edge loop. I'm going to go all the way around the edge here, and we're going to push that out just so we've got the curve in there. Okay, it's looking pretty good as it is. Now it looks like, is there a bottom section to this as well? So it looks like we've just got a straight section that comes out on the side. Okay, so firstly then, what we'll do is we'll create the section that runs along the bottom here. And we'll do that the exact same way as we did a second ago. So I'll speed this bit up, and then we'll be able to move on to the next. Okay guys, so we've got that section in there. Now what we're going to do up here is we are going to smooth this off. So let's smooth off all the elements around so we can see where we need to do a little bit of work. Now in terms of the lower section, I don't think we'll need to smooth this. I think this should be fine as it is. We could smooth it, but I don't think it's 100% necessary. It doesn't appear to be much in the way. Maybe we could do. I think we will actually smooth this. So what we'll do is we'll grab all the edges of this here. Let's get the wireframe mode on. And with this element here, what we'll do is we'll go down. Because we're going to need to merge this, get rid of that face there. And we will insert some edge loops, and we'll go around the edges here, just keep them nice and square. Okay, so what we'll want want to do is we'll also want to insert some of these edges here, just to make sure we're straight as possible. Now it looks like we'll want to match what we have over here with 2 lines there. We'll do the same up here. The rest seems to be falling together quite nicely there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So we've got that shape there looking quite nice. And we also want to do the same to this element up here. Now, it looks like more or less has fallen how we would want it to. What we'll do is we will insert a few edge loops in here just to help it maintain some integrity. So we'll come up fairly close to this edge here. We'll need to drop some help down here. Here. Maybe help out up here as well. Just to help maintain that curve. Everything else looks pretty good. We do have an issue here with that smooth, which isn't good, so I'll have to look at that after. So that smooth there looks pretty decent. We do have a little bit here coming into the lights. So we'll grab that edge here and just bring that down. Like so. Okay, so we have a nice section inside here. I'm just going to have a look at what's going on here and I'll be right back. Okay, so it turned out it was just a dodgy merged vertices in there, so that's looking pretty good there. So it looks to me here that these now look pretty good. That's just about following exactly how we would want it to there. And now it's a case of dropping the mesh inside here. So hopefully this shouldn't be too tricky to get into position. So what we're going to want to do then is drag this in, and we're going to want to drag it into a point again so that it's a nice and aligned inside here. So I'll pull this down and see. So I think that should sit quite nicely underneath the top section. So I think that's about where we want to be in the middle of this here. So it looks like we are going to need to take away a few more of these faces. So it's probably going to just need the very top edge here that we want to be taken. And I think we'll be able to get away with losing these ones here. So let's try insetting just a little bit more. So I think you may be able to see on the side view here how far in we want to be. So that looks pretty good. It looks like we want to actually rotate a little bit here. Oops. So it looks like we actually do want a little bit of an angle there. That looks good. Okay, so what we want to do here is we want to be able to pull these points and we want them to curve nicely. So what we're going to do is we are going to select our vertices and we are going to drag down this one side here. So we want to try and bring these over as uniformly as possible. What we're going to do is we are going to hit B. And what B will do is it will bring in our soft selection. So we can see here now that if I was to pull down this single line that we've selected, it's going to take it kind of at an arch with everything else, which is exactly what we want. So what we want to do at this point is we want to take the same here on each edge as we have on the other edge there. This will allow us to This will allow us to bring these in together. I think I've accidentally pulled some points here. Let's go back. Let's go in again. Okay, now in our tool settings here, we can go down to our soft selection, and the fall off radius is going to determine how much of this we're going to bring. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and get it so it meets in the middle. So if we say maybe 5.2, let's try 5.6. That looks pretty good. So we're going to get it here so it meets in the middle. So this is going to allow us to, from the side view, hopefully, this is going to allow us to pull these points into position, which is just past there. So we can see now that as part of this here we've got fairly decent curvature, but I think we've actually taken a bit too much. Let's go back and let's take this down to maybe 4.8. We still want this to be fairly straight, I would imagine, to maybe about here. So let's try 4. So 4 might work a little bit nicer there, so let's try pulling that in again. So we can see that's worked a little bit better for us. Maybe even less than 4, maybe we'll go for 3.5. Now your values may be a little bit different, it will depend completely on the way that your units are set up in your file. So it may be that you might want to adjust these sizes just a little bit just to make sure that you're on the right track. So let's pull those in there. So that's looking a load better. So we can see here, maybe if we pull back, because I think on our references here, see it comes up real close to this edge here. So maybe we'll take it just a little bit more. And we can see now why we overshot it, because we've got a whole load here that we don't need, yet those are sitting quite nicely over there. So it looks like we're sitting good on one side, but we're not sitting so good on the other. So let's just take these ones on their own and see about pulling these in. Actually, it might be okay. So before we pull any more there, let's bring these onto the other side here. So Control D, Control G, so we'll duplicate and then group. And this should allow us here to get these ones positioned as well. So, looks like fall in too nicely, so let's select a little bit more. Okay, so we can see that we've got quite a big discrepancy here, so let's take a little bit more here. And then we can bring these back out a little bit closer to the edge. Yeah, it's looking a little bit better. Let's still take it in, maybe a little bit more. Here, we can go back out on the far edge here. Okay, that's looking good. Looking very similar to what we've got on this side here. Okay, so we're happy with that. So what we'll need to do now is we'll need to go through and delete any of the faces that we don't want as part of this mesh. And then I think for the most part that's looking pretty good. So we'll delete the faces then just now. And we can hit B here to turn the soft selection off. Now we want to delete these and make sure that we're not affecting what we actually have inside here. So we'll go around it fairly rough to start, and then we'll zoom in close and we'll add a few edge loops in if we need to. So I'll speed this part of the video up and then we'll talk about what we've done afterwards. Okay guys, so on this side here it looks like we do have a small problem, which is fairly easily rectified. What we want to do, if you guys have the same here, if we ever have any sections that are protruding out here, we can drag an edge loop in. We can put the edge loop in as far as we need to so that we can't see it. And we'll do that same for the top and the bottom. And then that will allow us to delete the faces without taking the ones that we can see, and the ones that we need, we can delete those. So we'll do this down the other side should we need to. Okay guys, so it looks like we've just about got around all of the exterior edges there. So this is looking pretty good just now, in my opinion here. Once these are the same material, a darker material, they'll kind of just merge into each other, and you won't really see a difference. So incredibly happy with that. Now I don't think we're going to have time to do the front section in this episode here, so we'll cap this off. So we've got our rear grill inside there, which is looking pretty good. And it's a similar process around the front that we're going to do in the next episode. It's a little bit more tricky depending on the angles as well, plus we've got the lining to add inside as well. So we'll leave that for the next episode, and then after that we'll probably move on to the wing mirrors, which are going to annoy me a whole lot more than the grill has today. Okay guys, so hope you enjoyed the episode. Please like and subscribe. so glad that you have kept with me with this for this long, and I'll see you in the next episode.